Disclaimer number 1. This video contains discussion of disordered eating, mental illness, high school, and other similar subjects that may cause distress or be triggering. If you feel in any way that it could negatively affect you, please click away. If you or someone you know are or may be struggling with any of these issues, please reach out. You are not alone.
Hello everyone, my name is Claire L. Summerhauser. I'm 18 years old. I'm an artist. I'm a lover of fashion. I'm a model. Working on it. Today's video is going to be telling you all my story and my struggle with food and body image, and you saw the disclaimer. I want to make this video because it's been a long struggle. I don't think will ever truly end. I don't want to be in it anymore, and I think this is the closure that I need. And also I want to warn others in a way. It's not a fun thing. But yeah. So first of all, if you see me looking down, I have a TPT notebook and it's got a little bit of an outline. And so that's what that is. In part 1, I'm going to talk about the before. First off, right off the bat, I'm not diagnosed. This is something that I have been dealing with for a long time. I feel that in this situation, I know I'm very self-aware, but I was not diagnosed with anything. But there have been different phases of those two words that they pain me to say, and so I don't say them, but I said them in the disclaimer. We're going to go into the various different, I think, sectors of it. Part 1 is the before times, before when I was like born to maybe 6 years old. I ate pretty healthy. I mean, we were like lower middle class, so you know, you eat what's there, and I wasn't picky, but I wasn't a fan of tater tot hot dish. Now I am. I think it's pretty good. But you know, when you're 6, those aren't the type of things that you like to eat. So I was little kid picky and not picky. The name of the cat in Ramona Beezus. It was the occasional, the struggle meal, you know, we also had daycare in our house, so weird daycare foods that we ate, just like, here's Kraft mac and cheese. Oh, we have leftover spaghetti, throw it in a taco shell, that type of stuff. But I always had something to eat. I never went hungry. And kids just eat weird. Then, I was about 6 or 7, and I found out about Hot Cheetos, Takis. I remember the person who introduced me to them. Love ya. This is not your fault at all. I just want to, I would have found them either way. But, yeah, I got addicted pretty quickly to hot chips and, just eating unhealthily. I remember a couple of times between the ages of, 6, 7, and 11, a couple of times, you know, shifting weight as a kid. That's a thing that happens. But, I remember my mom stopping and being like, hey, maybe you shouldn't, you know, she was very kind about it. And, then the next day she apologized because she really thought she had done something wrong and she hadn't. So there was not a lot of regulation. Just I was stubborn. I was a stubborn kid. I was like, I'm gonna eat this whole family-sized bag of Cheetos, and you're not gonna stop me. Don't do that, guys. Don't do that. Being a little kid and eating junk. That's what this was. This was not the addictive food addiction, oh my gosh, I need to eat this now thing. It was just, these are here, I'm gonna eat them. Skip ahead to 5th grade. Before this, I had not noticed my body at all. I mean, I knew it was there. I looked in the mirror for my clothes, I was like, oh, that's cute, whatever. It was more of a focus on clothes than the person wearing them. And I didn't really see my body. Now I don't see it because of years of torturing it, but then I didn't see it. I was just like, oh, okay. Can I go play Barbies now? which is how all kids should be, I think. But I remember, and this is another disclaimer, any stories about people or I don't blame anyone in this. I don't blame anyone. So if you are watching this and you remember that story and you being a component in it, this is not your fault. I don't blame you at all. I promise you. But I remember in 5th grade, I was on the volleyball team, and we had tighter shirts. And one of my friends at the time told me that I looked pregnant. It didn't hurt me as much at the time. I didn't see myself, right? Everyone in middle school, there's like a quirky, I feel like a quirky food girl, the era, the 2014, it's probably not as much of a thing anymore, I don't know, I'm not a middle schooler, but like, the girl who's like, I love food, I just love pizza, and that sort of thing. That was me. I call myself Potato. Some of my teachers still call me that. I think it's very sweet. I didn't like the school food, so some of it I liked, some of it I didn't like. Sometimes I just wanted more of it, and did what I called scavenging, which would be after I ate my lunch, I went around the lunchroom looking for people who didn't want their lunch, and I took it. Or if I didn't like lunch food that day, go around to people's lunch boxes and see if they had anything to get rid of. It was really not good. Okay, I'm sorry for anyone who witnessed that or was a part of that. Sorry, I had to change my shirt because I got cold because I ate some ice cream. That's scavenging and not always eating lunch caused some unintentional weight loss that I was like, okay, whatever. I guess that's a thing. It didn't, I didn't notice it at the time that it was happening, but it happened, and that could also just be a growth spurt and that sort of thing. But I do notice it now when I look back at pictures. I remember one time, because I had to get confirmed with this youth group, which was fun. It was fine. There was, snacks there, and it was just a fun time. But to be confirmed, you had to do a retreat, and I missed the one that I really wanted to do, and I had to go to this one that I didn't really like. The one that I really wanted to do was the 24-hour fast. I remember wanting to do it because, one, there's a big, meal at the end. They catered in a bunch of food. And two, I didn't understand it at the time, why I was so interested in it, but it was rooted in disorder. Because I was like, oh, I have to fast for 24 hours? Yeah, that could be good for me. So it's maybe a good thing that I missed out on that one. I want to say this is 8th grade when this happened. I would do a light online 5-minute workout every morning. It was easy, it was fun, I had a playlist, whatever. I think at that point I'm sure there was a little bit of a weight loss motivator there. It wasn't as obsessive, it was just okay, this is a fun thing to do, whatever. Now we are on to part 2, high school, okay, in which I recently graduated. This one gets darker than the last one, very much so, because this struggle and this bout of disordered eating really developed in high school, took over my entire high school, pretty much, in different forms. But let's just start with 9th grade. You go into 9th grade, you eat the school food. Now, my high school, the food, in 9th grade, it was kind of the same thing over and over, but then they started to expand, but it was all right, burgers, chicken sandwiches, rice, all good stuff. I would eat that, I would go to lunch. Now, this is when, I don't know if anybody's ever been to high school before, but this is when my mental health started to really nosedive, I felt really lonely, a bit of imposter syndrome, because I went to an art school and I don't know, I felt very isolated. The two, food and my emotional well-being, probably influenced each other, because I don't know if you know this, but disorders in regard to food, eating disorders, let's just say it, eating disorders, they're mental diseases. They're not just, I don't want to eat that, I want to eat that, I'm inflicting this onto myself. It is so much more complicated than that. I started being sad. Now this little section right here This is when competition started. And I don't blame them at all. I don't blame this person. I love this person. We've had our story, but there was a competition because they were just, in my eyes, perfect. And of course, no person is perfect, but I felt the need to develop a competition, one that I can't entirely explain. I'll tell you this more deeper into the high school section, but eating disorders are very competitive, and this was pretty serious, like, need for intervention, but there was still a sense of competition, at least from my end. I'm not speaking for them. If you're watching this, I love you, and I don't blame you for any of this. And none of this is, it was a competitive aspect to me. Maybe not fully always consciously, but let's move on to 10th grade. So the end of 9th grade was cut short, about 3 months because of COVID. Then we went into distance learning. I kept seeing everybody talking about gaining weight during COVID and just wanting to better themselves, you know, sides of the spectrum. I remember the day not thinking I want to have any disorder, none of that, but more in the sense of like, I was like, I'm not going to eat today. Of course I thought that I could sustainably do that forever. And then after X amount of time, I quickly realized that that was not possible. Because we're humans and we need energy to survive. But I remember what I ate. I thought, wow, it's great. No, it was not. Let's be honest here. No, it was not. But after that, I started, I never counted until 11th grade. But at this point, it was more about, I see this and I am conscious of what I'm consuming, and it's not enough. But to me, it was just, okay, whatever. Of course, during COVID, mental health, bad. Just out the window. Gone. Cut it out. Right? Not good. But I wasn't exactly aware of that. I was just like, oh, I'm not doing too well right now. That's what I said, because I couldn't admit it to people. This is another thing. Raise your hand if you were personally victimized by the Chloe Ting workouts, because I was. Chloe Ting is great. I haven't consumed any of her content recently, but she was just making exercise videos. We all took that and said, let's make something of this. And we did. And that everything started getting bad. This was, I want to say, the first honeymoon phase. It was the summer after 9th grade. That's when everything was like, yeah, this is great. And then I started working at an Italian restaurant where we would get a free meal every day. It was not healthy for me. I took it every time because it was one of my favorite restaurants. Then the combination of poor mental health and getting a free, pasta every day developed into a BED situation. We don't know, stands for binge eating disorder. Now, of course, I was not diagnosed at any point in any of this, but just based on patterns, this is kind of where it was. And so, I'd get up, do my school, maybe do a couple of loads of laundry, then wait around to go to work. And while waiting around, I would snack around the house. And then I would get home and I would bring home my meal, and I wouldn't want to eat it in front of anybody else. A lot of weird habits, as people do in this situation. Some that I still hold on to and I can't get rid of. I quit working at the Italian place, which, by the way, shout out to them. They have good food. I was back to square one because my body had changed and I was at my highest, and that scared the crap out of me. Yeah, this was the end of 10th grade into 11th grade. Batten down the hatches, y'all. This is the bottom of the barrel. It doesn't get worse than this. At least for me. Get help if you need. This was the era of full on starvation. Like, obviously not full on because I'm right here making this video, but it was just not good. Not good at all. There was a lot of infighting in some relationships that I had. Not romantic. It was tough on everyone. And so there was a bit of strain. And it just made it easier for me. And I don't blame these people. It made it easier for me to use not eating as a crutch. I had 2 classes, and they were in the same room, and in the middle was lunch, because we had like we had a lunch with 3 lunches in it. I love this teacher. I love this teacher so much. I thank him for being, wow, the whole covenant's outside. 12 nuns just walked past my house. Cool. A teacher was for both of these classes, and so I would get done with the first one, and instead of going to lunch, I asked, could I stay back? Because 1, I had a lot of schoolwork to do, and I needed all the time I could get. And 2, because the lunchroom is overwhelming, and sitting at that table with the people who I was in a bit of a tussle with was just, it was a lot. I loved the school day because nobody would be on me about eating. I would skip lunch and feel really guilty about the days when I went and ate it. And this teacher, I'll always remember him offering me food, because at that point adults knew. Now they know. But at that point they didn't feel like he did, or at least had some empathy, and I'm very, 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 very grateful for that. But anyway, so I would skip lunch, and then I would have rehearsal after school, which usually went to 5:36, and we got snacks, but sometimes I would skip that too. So I would skip breakfast, lunch, until about 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock, when I would eat. Usually that was a binge. Sometimes it wasn't. Well, I dropped to my lowest weight and mentally, and it was really bad. Like, I look back, here, let me put some pictures of how it was. I look back at this point in 11th grade, and I think, oh my gosh, there's no life in me. What am I looking at right now? And it's really sad, but also kind of happy, because I'm not there anymore. But then there was the binge and restrict cycle, which anyone who is thinking, it's fine, I can just skip a meal here and a meal there, and you want to be the Tumblr girlies, you want to be on Pro 4 and 4 Tumblr and all that. No, you don't. No, you don't. You think it's easy. It's not easy. It's one of the hardest things to do, because if you think you can just restrict, you are not going to just restrict. It's always going to end up back in a binge, which it's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle, and I was caught in that, and I've been caught in it multiple times. Like, a lot of this being able to restrict for long periods and just restricting at all, it was kind of a crutch for any social anxiety I had. Like, if I had to go to a family barbecue or something, if I didn't want to talk to people, if there was anything I had to go to, I could focus myself on not eating, and that was what satiated me. No, of course, it became something that would always end in a binge, a period of binging, a period of restricting. I never purged. It's not in the typical sense. There's exercise purging. During a lot of this, a lot of 11th grade and 10th grade, a lot of blackout. I don't remember everything that happened. I remember in general terms what happened and how it was, but there's a lot of things that I can't vividly remember. And if you know me, you know that I have a very, very good memory, long term, not short term. It takes about a month for it to set in, but I don't remember it. I don't remember a lot of things, and it's very sad, because I so vividly want to remember them. It's like, I don't want to compare this to childbirth, because people who give birth are the strongest people in the earth, but I know there's something that's like birth. Obviously, it's excruciatingly painful, but your brain blocks it out, doesn't remember it. That's kind of how it was. Like, every time I think to myself, I could restrict. It'll be fine. It's like I don't remember all of the pain that that caused me. Let's go to 12th grade. So the beginning was very restricting, the end of 11th grade, but during the summer, I do really well. I always do really well during the summer. You know, I eat healthy, I get out exercise, I get sun, so I'm like happy. But then by about November, it all starts to trickle down. But during 12th grade, I slowly started introducing healthier food consumption. There's still, I'd say, I don't know when I started deciding, hey, I can't do this anymore. It is so physically taxing. I remember definitely a binge and restrict cycle, and it was awful because it always is. And I could feel like I didn't plan on doing anything, but I could feel the me just letting myself go and just submitting to purging, and it would just happen. I could feel that coming. I could feel the bulimic tendencies coming, and I did not want that. I said, enough, I'm done with this. I can't do this anymore. That's when I knew it was it. For 3 years, you do these awful, almost 4 years, you do these awful things to yourself, and you get in a mindset, and you can't, nothing makes sense except what you know. And in these formative years, when all you know is something that is harming you, it is very, very, very hard to get out of that. But now we're on to part 3, a much, much lighter part, and that is recovery. So since about, I want to say, probably 3 or 4 months ago, when I had decided, nope, we're not doing this anymore. I'm sick of this. I know it's gonna be tough because you get used to looking a certain way and having a certain mindset and everything being a certain way. I accepted that. I accepted that it wasn't gonna be easy, but I did not want to do it anymore. It was not a choice to end up where I was, but it was a choice to stop it. When in this situation, it's going to be really hard to do. But so during recovery now, I've got healthy food and sometimes unhealthy food, and exercise. Sometimes there is still a binge situation. Sometimes there's a little bit of a restrict, but it's nowhere near as vicious as it was. And I can always get out of it. I don't get stuck in the same loop for 2 weeks. I'm feeling a lot better, feelings-wise. I remember things. I look at pictures now and I glow. I don't see a corpse anymore. It has been hard to have a changing body and a changing face and also a changing mindset. That's been really hard, especially since I model. I'm working on it. But there's the happy pictures that are like long-term. I don't know if it's gonna be something that ever fully goes away. I hope it does, but I hope that I never go back to it. I can tell you that for sure. I want to talk about lasting effects that mentally, blackout. Like, I don't remember things from certain times, and I won't ever remember them. That's why I take so many pictures, is because you never know when you're not going to remember something. Still a competitive aspect to, like, it isn't as bad as it was in 11th grade. You know, I see someone eating something, I think, why am I eating more? Why are they eating less? Or why are they choosing to eat this way? Is it because of me? Is it this and this and this? A lot of that. In 11th grade is when the numbers started. The numbers that really don't mean anything. They're just a unit of measurement, but that's when the numbers started, and I still, to this day, like, I can tell you a number for anything, roughly. I don't know if I'll ever be able to shake the numbers. I don't know if I'll ever be able to ignore the numbers again. You know, it don't bother me as much anymore. I can just see something and say, okay, cool. But physically, let's talk about the physical aspects. Okay, here's some pictures of when I lost my hair. Now my hair is very thick and luscious. I have been using rice water, so that also helps, but so does eating. Oh, that time I passed out, I hadn't eaten anything except a Freezy and a banana that day, but I went up to bike to a local ice cream shop with my neighbor, and I passed out when I got off the bike, and I had to get an ambulance home. That was in 10th grade. A typical 10th grader would not, you know, maybe a little out of breath because it was during COVID and we don't get out much, but it wouldn't be that bad. I passed out. Yeah. Physically, My bones are always hurting. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it, but maybe. So if you're someone that gets a menstrual cycle, when I was 12 and 12, 13, parts of 14, it was fine. I was like, okay, I didn't pay enough attention to it. I was just like, here it is, whatever. I didn't know what I was doing. Then for the next 3 years, it was irregular, and I'm relearning how to deal with a period at the age of 18 because I haven't had it for so long that when you have to relearn that thing, it's kind of embarrassing because you don't know what to do. I don't know if it's affected my fertility. That doesn't matter to me. I don't want kids. But if you do want kids and you have struggled with disordered eating, you better get that checked out because you might not be able to have kids. My metabolism has been crazy. I'm getting it fixed now because I'm gym bro. Oh, didn't really talk about, but I did get obsessed with exercising. I did a lot of squats every day for a year and a half. The Chloe Ting exercises. Now I like do it. I exercise for me, for fun, because I enjoy it. Always cold, right? Lightheaded. You stand up, you can't see anything. You think, oh, I'm anemic. Oh, it's cute. It's quirky. No, it's not. It's not fun. Sitting in class, couldn't focus on a single thing. Nothing. I just see. It's like you're zoning. It's like blackout. The lights are bright. They're in your eyes. You can't see very well. Stomach hurts all the time now. I think it's more prevalent in people who purge, binge and purge. Stomach issues. There you go. Can mess up your thyroid. Don't do it. Don't do any of it. Socially, like I said, I use it as a crutch. It's really sad because in a lot of my formative years, a lot of my family that I was really close to previously, I'm not as close to now because for 3 years I would just sit and stare off into space and I couldn't complete a conversation. It's hard to go out to eat now. I'm getting better at it, but when I was younger, it was really hard to go out to eat because menus and numbers, and I couldn't go out to eat for a birthday meal with my family or something like that. It damages relationships. It really does. You think it's just a physical thing. It's just a mental thing. It's very much a social thing as well. I'm really sorry to anyone that I lost contact with or our relationship was damaged because of whatever, but it was probably because I was very hungry and couldn't focus on anything and just angry all the time. Dissociation. If you've ever dissociated, you know it's not fun. I remember specifically sitting in art class in 11th grade and I dissociated and nothing felt real. And I remember my art teacher, little bald man, you know him. If you're watching this and you know me, you know him. I was really dissociated and I was trying to get the attention of the people sitting with me, but it just wasn't getting across. And so I went across the room to where he was and he had me cut some paper for him, to me with these big ink brushes, and you make kanji. And he did that with me. And I don't know if he knew. I don't think he knew, but I remember him and a couple other teachers around the time asking if I was okay because I looked like a corpse. So maybe he did, but it was very, very something I always will feel in my heart and remember it. So if you're seeing this, thank you. Thank you to a couple of teachers actually that have been really, really supportive and helpful during this. So in conclusion, it's always going to be something that I carry with me. But I can move past it, and so can you. My advice, if you eat normally, if you're a healthy eater, even if you eat a little unhealthily, snacks and stuff, whatever, people are people. You gotta enjoy your life as well. Don't do this. I wish I could fully explain how awful it is, and especially I kept it a secret because I didn't feel like I could tell the people in my life. My friends knew because they are the absolute most amazing people in the world. If you are struggling, you can get help. It's gonna be tough. I know I sound really condescending, but I've lived it. There is help out there, and the people around you are more supportive than you think. I'm telling you, I know you're probably thinking that getting out of it does not sound fun or appealing, but neither is being in it. It's awful. It is so awful, and you know that, and I know that. And I want everyone who's stuck in a bout of disordered eating to get out of it. I want that with my whole heart. My heart with the hole in it. I am going to put some resources in the end page. Anyhow, thank you for watching this. I know it's probably like half an hour long, but it means a lot for you to watch it and know my story. And if you know me personally in my life, I know I make a lot of jokes about it. That's how I cope. It's a very real thing. I'm always worried that people are thinking I'm just making it up for attention. I'm not. It is, I would not do that. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more funny, silly videos, go to my other videos because they're usually not as heavy as this one. But thank you.